Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I'm an animal lover. My home is like a mini zoo. 11 chickens, 3 cats, and 2 rabbits. One rabbit stays in a hutch outside while the other lives indoors because he has separation anxiety and can't be away from people for more than 1 hour. My cats are special to me. 2 of them are twins, both a year old now. The blue-vested one, I'll call him B, and the red-vested one, S, are my support animals. I have social anxiety and other conditions I won't get into, but these cats help me function. They're both skittish around strangers. S tends to freeze when scared. Our property is fenced with security cameras, and all my animals come when called. The cats are microchipped, which saved us. A few weeks ago I was upstairs in the bathroom when I heard my chickens making noise. I ran downstairs and saw my gate open. I called for all my animals. Everyone came except S. I looked everywhere and found his vest in the front yard. Someone had taken my cat. I called my dad. He's sweet until someone hurts his family. While he called the police, I called my brother Jay and contacted pet stores and vets nearby. A vet not far from my house had a cat matching S's description. I told them to say his name and see if he gives a head boop. He did. I asked them to keep him there, telling them he was microchipped with my mom's and my name. My dad and I went to the vet's office. A woman was trying to leave with my cat. The police were coming as my dad had called them. I saw S and called his name, probably yelled it because everyone looked at us. S was on his back, which he hates. He scratched the woman and ran to me. I picked him up, hugged him, and gave him to my dad. I walked up to the woman. I asked how she dared take my cat from my backyard. The woman said I had too many animals, and that she rescued him because he was dirty and shouldn't be outside. I got more upset and told her he was fine and could go inside whenever he wanted. I walked toward her, feeling angry. My dad handed S to someone and grabbed me to hold me back. I was yelling. I don't remember what else she said. Then the police arrived. The woman tried to leave, but my yelling kept her there. The officers arrested her after seeing our security footage of her trespassing and taking my support animal. I went home and held S crying. Now my cats still go outside, but someone is always watching them. Later, the woman's husband called asking me to drop the charges. I asked how he would feel if someone took his child or pet, telling him these animals are family. He seemed to understand, but I kept the charges. The woman's trespassing, kidnapping, animal endangerment, property damage, and theft. There are more charges because S and B are registered service animals. We'd completed their registration just 2 days before. I still have flashbacks and panic attacks. My cats know when I'm panicking and help calm me down. To that entitled woman, I hope you'll learn not to break up families. And to others with support animals, make sure they're chipped and registered. You never know when someone might think they know better about your pets. I'm good at handling bullies. Their taunts never stuck to me. I could shrug off insults, laugh, and move on. It was like having a shield that playground tormentors couldn't break. When I was 9, everything changed. My dad lost his job and we moved to a new town. New house, new school, new everything. I was scared of starting over, but I made a few friends. One guy helped me adjust to the new school. He showed me around, introduced me to people, and made sure I wasn't eating lunch alone. I was grateful. Fast forward to secondary school when we were 11. A new kid joined our class, and I remembered how much it meant to have someone welcome me when I was new. I helped the new kid settle in. We became friends quickly, and he got me into Army cadets in a nearby town. That's where I met my girlfriend. She was smart, funny, and pretty. Somehow we hit it off. For a year and a half, we had a great relationship. We visited each other's towns, met each other's friends, and did normal couple stuff. The problem started when my old friend met her. From the moment they were introduced, something changed in him. He started making gross comments about her when she wasn't around. I asked him to stop talking about her like that because it made me uncomfortable. He dismissed me, saying he was just saying what everyone was thinking and talking about how attractive she was. His comments were shocking from an 11-year-old. I didn't know where he learned this stuff. When the three of us hung out, he'd pressure us about physical stuff. He would ask if we had done it yet, claiming everyone our age had already lost their virginity and we were behind. I told him we'd do whatever we wanted in our own time and to stop bringing it up. My girlfriend told him it was none of his business, but he wouldn't stop. For 3 months straight, he kept making these comments and applying pressure. Between that and other stresses, my girlfriend and I decided to end things. It was mutual. We agreed to stay friends, and we have remained close. That's when the real bullying began. I had just turned 13 when he started with his hurtful comments. He would tell me that I would never get someone like her again. When I explained that we ended things on good terms and were still friends, he would say I was going to die alone. At first, I used my old tactics, laugh it off, ignore it, move on. But he kept at it, every single day, for 3 years. We walked to school together with our friend group since we all lived close by. He had the perfect opportunity to torment me daily. After a few months of this, I started asking him to stop. I warned him that if he continued, I would report him to the teachers. He scoffed at this, saying the teachers wouldn't care and calling me a loser who had lost the best thing that ever happened to him. Finally, about 8 or 9 months after the breakup, I went to the teachers. I told them he was bullying me every day, saying I was going to die alone and that I'd ruined my life. When asked where this was happening, I said it was on the walk to school. The teacher told me that they couldn't do anything about it since it wasn't happening on school grounds. So I tried to adapt. I'd wear headphones on the walk, playing music just loud enough to drown him out but still hear the general conversation. That lasted about 2 weeks before he started tapping me on the shoulder. He would interrupt my music to make sure I heard his cruel remarks about dying alone. I stopped taking the headphones out, then he started yanking them off my head. So I started walking alone, taking a different route. This made me a bit of a loner at school. To this day, I only have one friend from that entire school, his ex-girlfriend who realized what a jerk he was. For a month, walking alone worked. Then he figured out my schedule and changed his route to match mine. When I tried to physically defend myself, it went badly. He was stronger than me. Despite my army cadet training, I'd end up on the ground while his friends laughed and stepped over, sometimes on me. By 15, his words had sunk in deep. They rattled around in my head at night when I tried to sleep. The teachers couldn't help. Nothing I said made a difference. Nothing I did worked. I kept my head down and focused on schoolwork. A couple people started talking to me again. One night I was chatting online with his ex-girlfriend. She'd had a few drinks with her parents. His ex-girlfriend messaged me, saying he thought he was God's gift to women, but he wasn't. She said he was too pushy, only wanting things his way no matter what, and called his behavior disgusting. She went on for a while, tearing apart his dating abilities, which was something he was proud of. At our school, we had an internal email system where you could message everyone, students and teachers. Some people used it to send chain messages. I was good with computers and had helped people with IT work, sometimes using their login to fix problems. One of those people was my bully back before the bullying started. I hoped he hadn't changed his password. I took screenshots of the conversation with his ex, blacked out our names in Paint, and logged into his account from a computer in an unused IT room. I sent an email to everyone in school that said, "My name is Bully. I have sent you an attachment about how disgusting a human being I am. I have been bullying people for years, and I am finally getting my comeuppance." It took 2 months for them to discover it was me. They only found out because I walked up to him and told him myself. I wanted him to know it was me. My punishment was mild. A talk with a school police officer about slander and 3 lunch detentions, about 150 minutes total. I had good grades and had never been in trouble before, so they went easy on me. I still got to eat lunch. I just had to sit outside the principal's office during break time and do homework. Then I had to have a meeting with my bully to sort it out. When I walked in, he was crying. I told him that this was what he deserved, for driving me and my ex-girlfriend apart and for rubbing it in my face for 3 years. I said I hoped every woman in the school had read the email and would stay away from him. Then I threw his own words back at him, telling him that he would die alone. Then I walked out. They didn't punish me for swearing or shouting. I think they were shocked by my change. I'm usually quiet and shy, but that day, my voice dropped with hatred. That was 7 years ago. To this day, he hasn't had another girlfriend. I check his social media occasionally. Petty? Maybe. But he hasn't spoken to me since, and I haven't been bullied since either. I've had several relationships since then, each one helping me realize his words were garbage born from jealousy. After we broke up, my ex-girlfriend stopped talking to him completely, and I think that's what really bothered him all along. When I was a teenager, my friends and I used to hang out at the local theater on weekends because we were still counting down to being old enough to drink in public. Everyone who went to the 3 nearest high schools hung out at the theater on weekends with their preferred groups. Though every era-appropriate subgenre of suburban 90s teens was represented on any given weekend night, the punk rock enthusiasts stood out from the rest. This distinction had nothing to do with our behavior. We were no more rambunctious than some other groups, but we looked like extras from The Road Warrior enjoying a smoke break. For my part, I had a green Byhawk and an old military jacket I had dyed black and covered in spikes, studs, and band patches. The most prominent was a giant back patch cut from an old t-shirt. It showed an emaciated, skeletal humanoid with a mohawk vomiting blood into a pile of skeletons. This period of my life is close to understanding what it feels like to be discriminated against based on appearance. People in the Georgia suburbs reacted to my presence with suspicion, fear, and distrust wherever I went, and I enjoyed it when it suited me. In a few years, I would learn that I could take off the jacket along with the baggage that went with it, but we aren't there yet. On a night like any other, the cop that patrolled the theater approached our group. D, one of my younger friends, had already started to get up. We knew the drill. I had mixed feelings about law enforcement officers. In my experience, some did heroic work that saved lives, some took bribes to look the other way, and some singled out any difference and punished it any way they could, just like any bully would. I told D to sit down. If the cop saw this, he gave no indication. The cop ordered us boys to leave. D started to get up again, but I told him to sit down. D sat back down slowly, perhaps realizing that he was now at the edge of something, not in the middle. The cop asked if we had heard him, saying we needed to leave. I asked why. The cop said we were loitering. Then I did what was either the most or least punk rock thing I've ever done. I told the cop that, according to Georgia Municipal Code Section 161136, loitering consists of acting in an evasive manner in the presence of law enforcement, refusing to identify ourselves, or trying to conceal ourselves or an object. He looked at me like I just came down from outer space to swindle his mom out of her retirement fund. I continued by saying he was supposed to give us a reasonable opportunity to identify ourselves and explain our presence and behavior. If it strains credibility to imagine a 17-year-old saying that to a cop, I understand. We had been getting sent home early almost every weekend for almost a year by the same cop, while all the other teens were allowed to play out their curfews. At one point, the word went around my group of friends that the charge of loitering was related to taking up commercial space without actively consuming anything. So we made sure we each had at least $1 on us at all times to show our status as potential paying customers. This theory broke down in practice. One night, when the cop confronted us, he told us kids to get out, saying it wasn't a playground. I said we were paying customers and showed him my dollar. My friend said we all had money to spend. The cop dismissed our argument, saying that's not how it works and that we needed to learn more about the law. So I spent the rest of the night memorizing the relevant municipal ordinances about loitering for the next time the police confronted us, and I even practiced saying them out loud a few times. The cop, after I prompted him to give us a chance to explain ourselves, gave me a long look. He asked if I was a lawyer, adding that he loved throwing lawyers in jail. I gave him a long look and said I wasn't a lawyer, but this jacket fooled everyone. He opened his mouth to say something, but just gulped a few times like a landed fish. The realization that he wasn't ready to turn a routine troublemaker sweep into an actual incident crossed his face. D started to snicker behind me. Another friend was trying to hide his smile. The cop's face turned redder. The cop threatened that he could still make trouble for all of us. I asked for what reason, knowing the law being in a public place without breaking rules. I pointed out that the theater manager hadn't asked us to leave and that we'd bought tickets for movies there, with some of us even buying popcorn that night. My friend added that he still had half a box of popcorn left. The cop looked around at our group. I could see him thinking whether this was worth the paperwork, the complaints, or the embarrassment of admitting he'd been targeting us simply because of how we looked. The cop told us to keep it down. With that, he went back inside the theater. Dee said that was awesome. My friend commented on the cop's face. Another friend asked where I had learned all that law stuff. I said I'd found it at the library, after he told us to learn the law last time. We stayed at the theater until our actual curfews that night, sprawled across the benches outside, talking and laughing like all the other teens. The cop walked by us a few times but never approached us again. Word spread through the other punk kids at our school about what happened, and soon everyone in our little subculture was carrying printouts of the Georgia loitering laws in their pockets. We weren't doing anything wrong. We weren't vandalizing or stealing or harassing anyone. We were just kids with weird hair and clothes who wanted to hang out like everyone else. And for once, we got to do exactly that, without being singled out just because we looked different. That cop never bothered us again. Back in 2019, I landed a good job in a new city in the Midlands. At first, my partner and I were commuting, but after a few months of that tiring routine, we decided to move closer. My partner could find work easily in the area, so we started looking at rentals. We scheduled viewings for several properties, with rents ranging from £600 to £1,200 per month. After thinking about our options, we realized our long-term goal was to buy our own home. We decided to go with the cheapest place so we could save money for a deposit faster. This house was in one of the roughest neighborhoods I'd seen. The streets were littered with rubbish, people would be shouting at night, and the police were constantly patrolling. You'd find needles in the nearby park and often see drunk people lying around. It wasn't ideal, but we kept focused on our goal, our own home someday. We agreed to the landlord's terms, £600 deposit plus a month's rent in advance. We would keep his mail, payment in cash only, and we couldn't change the prepaid electricity meter. There were many red flags, including not signing a contract. We were young and naive. The bonus was when he said we didn't need to register for council tax because he would cover it. In the UK, council tax is typically over £100 per month and normally paid by the tenant. When moving day came, we were shocked by the state of the house. It was filthy. The converted loft was packed with rubbish. When we moved the bed left behind, we found years of trash, Q-tips, garbage, even the previous tenant's underwear. The kitchen had grease covering every surface. We took pictures, though I later lost them when I changed phones. Throughout the year we lived there, our landlord was constantly traveling. Holidays to Sri Lanka, Dubai, Australia, and somewhere else. He drove an expensive car, and when collecting rent, he would brag about his luxury lifestyle, once mentioning his barbecue in his new jacuzzi. Meanwhile, we lived in his rundown property and saved every penny. After nearly a year, we found a shared ownership in a new development in a better area. With our savings, we could afford it. We got our mortgage and gave the landlord 3 months' notice. I asked the landlord if we could use our deposit for the last month's rent, but he refused, saying we needed to pay the final month, and then he would return our deposit if the property was in good condition. About a week before moving out, I opened a letter from the council addressed to him. It was a council tax bill, but only 40-something pounds for the entire year. The reason? He'd been given housing benefits for living alone in our rented house and claiming to be on low pay. When moving day came, unlike the dirty state when we arrived, we cleaned it thoroughly. Yet the landlord told us he was keeping our deposit because of dirty carpets and other issues. I told him the house was in better condition than when we moved in, but without proof, he kept our money. I was angry, especially having lost those initial photos. Even without our deposit back, we'd still saved money by not paying full council tax. But I was done with this landlord's dishonesty. So I called the city council and told them I had been living at the property for a year and had seen a council tax bill showing the landlord was getting benefits for supposedly living alone and being on low income. I mentioned how odd this seemed since he had been renting to us and drove an expensive car. The council worker changed from bored to excited when hearing this. They asked me several more questions about the situation, which I answered. They thanked me for telling them. I didn't hear anything more until recently when we saw our former neighbors. The landlord had lost all his benefits and was now driving a cheaper car. The house is currently for sale. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.